Hi guys, Black Wolf, and I'm gonna read chapter 14 of The False Prince. I'm sorry if my voice sounds all weird right now, it's just because, talking so much and, my voice is all weird. Anyway, so I'm gonna do chapter 14 of The False Prince. So here we go. All three of us shared the afternoon history lessons, which was a waste of Tobias' time because he already knew the answer to every question. He spoke so quickly there was no point in Roden and I even attempting to speak, even if we had known the answers. Our history tutor was Mistress Havala, who Tobias said had taught him other lessons earlier that day. She was past the age of marriage, which was curious because she seemed like a pleasant enough person. She had a round face with curly black hair that bounced a lot and made a great effort to avoid any discussion of the real reasons why Connor had brought us here, even though it was clear she knew. There was a nervousness about her, yet her easy smile and gentle nature were a welcome respite from the serious demeanor everyone else on this estate seemed to have. I wondered what would happen to her at the end of these 2 weeks. When she stepped out to ask for a drink of water, I told Tobias and Roden of my concerns. Tobias shrugged it off. She'll be fine. She told me that Connor asked her never to talk about teaching us. Threatened her, more likely, I muttered. Defensively, Tobias arched his head. If she doesn't talk, then it won't matter what Connor did. It always matters. I looked at Roden to agree with me, but his head was buried in the book in front of him as he tried to figure out the word at his fingertip. We all fell into silence as Mr. Savala returned. Tobias lapsed into a sort of daydream until Roden and I failed to answer her next question, which he then answered without hesitation. Mr. Savala was an excellent tutor, and by the end of the class session we could name all the major Carthian cities and describe their contributions to the country. Fortunately for us, few cities in Carthia can be considered major, so it was easy to learn them. Unfortunately for Carthia, their contributions to the country are equally unimpressive. Their new prince would need to work hard to build up production of our natural resources. Predictably, Tobias announced he was up to the challenge. Mr. Savala raised an eyebrow at his words, but said nothing. There was a knock at the door, and 2 servants entered, carrying what I guessed was our lunch. I didn't know the first girl who entered, but the second servant was Imogen. She looked at me, gave her usual frown, then lowered her eyes. They set the trays down and left. Mr. Savala placed the book she'd been teaching us on her desk, then handed us each a meat pie wrapped in thick pastry. I ate mine in 4 bites and turned to Tobias, who was only halfway through his. Can I have the rest of yours? Tobias laughed, but I hadn't been joking. He finished the rest of his pie without answering. Meanwhile, Mr. Savala continued on. After our history lessons, Mount returned and escorted us to Connor's tables. Craigan was waiting for us there. His arms were folded so tightly as we approached, I briefly wondered if they were knotted. That's right, he said gruffly. I'll be teaching you to ride. After Mount was gone, he pointed to his saddle balanced on top of a fence. Let's start here. This is what you sit on to ride a horse. You can't be serious, I said. Are you going to treat us like it's the first time we've ever ridden a horse? We can all ride. I don't know what your skills are, Craigan said. My skills are better than yours, I said. I can outride you with my eyes closed. Probably so can Tobias and Roden. Craigan's eyes narrowed. Better than my skills. I'm not just a rider, I'm a trainer. I break wild horses, and I can break you. I ignored that last part and said, I can ride anything you can ride. Craigan smiled. You won't bait me so easily, boy. Why not, Tobias said. If he says he can ride, why not test his skills? Craigan stared at Tobias and me and said, all right, wait here, and he walked back into the stalls. Thanks, I said to Tobias. Tobias glanced at me sideways. I'm not on your side, Sage. Hopefully this will teach you a lesson. Our attention was diverted by a crashing sound in the stable. Slowly I shook my head and mumbled to Tobias, You don't think he has an untrained horse in there, do you? Sounds like it, Tobias said. Can you ride? Roden asked me. I've ridden before. Is that the same thing? No, Tobias said flatly. I can ride, but I'm not stupid enough to challenge Craigan to a wild horse. Just apologize and tell Craigan you want lessons, Roden said. And let everyone hold that over my head, I asked. I'll just ride the horse in a circle or 2. It'll be fine. Craigan was practically laughing aloud as he escorted the horse outside the stables. It was already trying to buck, and it was work for him to hold onto the reins. Craigan grinned wickedly. So you can outride me. I backed up 2 steps. My father had warned me about my quick tongue countless times. Perhaps he should have warned me more often. It doesn't matter whether I could beat you or not. You're the tutor here. That seemed to offend Kragan. His voice rose in pitch as he said, and as your tutor, I'm ordering you onto this horse. I shook my head. I'm not riding that horse. Give me a tamer one and I'll do it. You just know you'll lose if you play fair. Kragan walked so close that I could feel his breath on me. Scared? Yeah, I was. It was a fierce horse. Then it's a good time to teach you some humility. Get on the horse or face the consequences. Leave him alone. Sage is just talking big, Roden said. Kragan pointed a finger at Roden. Sage won't help you in the end, boy. Don't help him. Then he looked at me. If you don't ride this horse now, then you won't ride again during the next 2 weeks. I'll tell Connor you failed here. After a very long moment, I reached for the reins. Fine, but I need help getting up. Kragan laughed. Can't even mount a horse by yourself. It's a riding contest, not a mounting one. Where's your horse? Kragan's laugh widened. You'll fall off so quickly I won't even have time to get into the saddle. He steadied the horse while I climbed on. The horse bucked and I had to grip tightly to stay in the saddle. He doesn't like me, I said. You should be used to that, Kragan said. And Windstorm is a she. With a laugh, he slapped the horse on the back side. Windstorm took off with a fury at her feet, throwing me hard against the curve of the saddle. She bucked twice, and I managed to hold on only because it entertained the devils to help me to do it. Behind me, Kragan was laughing boisterously. Maybe Roden and Tobias were too. It was hard to tell with the world jostling around me. I yelped and held on as she pulled free of Kragan's control, and we sprinted away. Windstorm headed directly for a tree as if she knew the low-hanging limb would knock me off. I ducked in time to avoid the worst of it, though smaller branches scraped my shoulders as we passed beneath. Somewhere behind us, Kragan yelled for me to come back, but Windstorm was on a full gallop to freedom. Kragan was left with the reality that by the time he got on his horse to follow me, I'd be long gone, and I was on the horse running so fast that if I fell off, I was facing more than a few broken bones. Or worse. Okay. So, guys, that was chapter 14, and so please stay tuned for The False Prince audiobook part 15, because it will be done tonight, and this will be the last one I do tonight. So, yes. You won't hear any more until later on, like around 5:30, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So please look it up. It will be there. So, eventually. And yeah. See you later.